Hello, my fellow Ripplers. This is Chris Miles, your cash flow expert and anti-financial advisor. Hey guys, I'm here because this show is for you and it's about you. Those of you that work so hard for your money and you're ready for your money to start working harder for you now. You want that freedom, you want that cash flow, you want that prosperity today, not 30 or 40 million years from now, but right now. So you can live that life that you love, doing what you love with those that you love. Now, guys, it's so much more than just becoming financially prosperous, right? It's about creating a legacy by creating that ripple effect through your life into the lives of others, whether it be your family, your community, or across the planet. And guys, I'm so grateful that I can create my ripple effect through you, because through you, that's what I'm doing, man. Like, this is what keeps me waking up every day. And I appreciate it so much. Thanks for binging and sharing and doing all the things you guys do when we talk about this show. As a reminder, check out our website, moneyripples.com. We've got great blogs on there, as well as, of course, you can go to our YouTube channel, the Money Ripples with Chris Miles. You can check out there and subscribe and see more videos there live. So go check it out. All right, guys. So I'm super excited today about a guest I'm bringing on. This is actually a friend of mine for the last few years that I've known. And this guy is someone of no small reputation in his industry. So Aaron Chapman is one of the people I have here. He's been in the mortgage industry since 1997. He's done everything from heavy equipment welding and long haul truck driving and all that kind of stuff, right? But when he got into the industry, like out of 300,000 licensed mortgage officers, right, these originators here, he's ranked number 14. This guy, like, his business does crazy amounts of mortgages, yet still has an amazing ability to service your clients and make it feel like you actually have this personal caring, right? And that's the thing that I love and respect about Aaron. Not to mention, the guy is a shooter straight, like, there's no BS kind of guy, which I love. And so today we're going to talk about something that often comes up with my clients, as well as many of you, which is, hey, is it, what should we be doing with our mortgages? Should we be paying them off? Should we be doing 15 years or 30 years? What really makes sense, especially if you go the non-traditional investor route, or the alternative investor route, right? Where you're doing things like real estate and things like that. What's the best thing we can be doing? So that's what we're going to be talking about, Aaron, today. Just having a little chat about this and just helping you guys learn something pretty cool here. So Aaron, welcome to our show.
Thanks, brother. Appreciate you taking the time to allow me to be part of it. And I apologize for the environment. It's not like I'm not in my studio. I'm not in my office. I had to leave PT, and then my daughter had a problem with her vehicle. So I'm in the Jeep, man. I'm in the rock crawler today, and it's kind of cool. It's a little bit different. Like you said, you got to you take advantage of the opportunity when the opportunity exists. I have a good friend of mine, actually a business partner in STLC Media, where he just says, you take the meeting. You never know what's going to come from it. So that's what I'm doing. We're taking the meeting. We're going to make this happen, even though the environment's not perfect.
You know what? For you, I think it is perfect. Like, you're definitely not the guy that should be sitting in with a shirt and tie in a stuffy office. That's not you.
Exactly. Yeah, that's where I actually started when I got in the industry. They're trying to put me in a shirt and tie in an office. I was trying to conform, and it wasn't working. I was literally lying to people with my appearance. And as I evolved, I got to the point where everybody was teaching me what to do and telling me how I should act, how I should talk, how I should look, how I should dress, how I should think. They all left the industry. Nobody was left. I was to myself. So I'm like, all of a sudden, I'm doing this shit my way. And so I started doing that. And I started allowing things to just evolve. And now, like you said, I mean, I have no choice but to tell people directly what's happening, right? And it's amazing how, sometimes they get frustrated because they didn't want to hear that. They wanted to get the sugarcoating. But then later on, they're just like, I'd much rather work with you because I know what I'm dealing with. Right. It hurts at first. Words can be painful when you're telling people the truth. But once they realize the truth is out there, regardless of what the person's telling you, it changes the dynamic of your relationship.
It sure does, man. No, I get it. Like, that's why I don't wear the stuffy suits and ties anymore either. I can't do that stuff. So it's not me. And
God bless the guys that can, right? Yeah. I mean, I have nothing against the person who wants to dress that way, that feels like that's their calling. Right? Mm-hmm. Kind of like people go play golf. God bless you. I don't understand the damn game. But if you weren't doing that, you might be sitting in my tree stands or hunting the places I want to hunt. So you go play golf, I'll go hunting, and we'll all be happy.
Exactly. Well, man, so tell us, like, I mean, you've had this huge background. I mean, more than a couple of decades worth of background, like, in this industry, right? And just kind of give you some background. There's people here that do have different perspectives, and they have that battle about debt and money and things like that, right? And especially if they've ever listened to Dave Ramsey, which people that have listened to my show long enough know I'm kind of an anti-Dave Ramsey guy. Love him. I think he's a great guy. but when it comes to actually creating wealth, he's not the guy to listen to. And so what's your opinion? I mean, you're seeing these mortgages all the time. I mean, should people be paying these suckers off? Should they be using them to their advantage? What's the real beef here?
Well, first off, God bless Dave Ramsey for being in existence, because that guy, there's a larger group of people out there that need him than the people that need us.
Right.
Because we have a structure, a marketing structure within the world that is convincing people that you need to have, right?
Sure.
And so because of that, we have buried so many people in debt, and to the extent that we've got, a large percent of our population, unfortunately, spends their time, or at least every paycheck they get, they're basically using tomorrow's paycheck to pay yesterday's bills.
Right. They're just consuming.
That's servitude, right? They are indentured servants to this consumption thought process. Well, a guy like Dave comes in and starts changing that mindset and giving people a way out, because that's the thing that they don't know what to do. How do I climb out of it? It's kind of like being your first time in the snow and now you're in an avalanche. How do you get out? Well, his job is teaching people how to get out. Well, once you're out, then what? Yeah. That's where we kick in. That's where we come around, because we need a guy like that, help them get out of it, then us to take and say, what you take the principles you learned about how to understand your spending habits and keep them under control. Now we want to talk about, what is your investing habits? How do you grow that? What is the compound effect of taking a little and making it into a lot? Just how you got your debt, right? You went the opposite direction. A little bit of debt compounded into a lot of debt. Now we take a little bit of asset and compound to a greater amount of asset. So how do we do that? The one thing that I think that Dave does great in helping people pay off their debt, but also at the same time does a disservice, is categorizing certain things as debt when they're not debt. Let's take the 30-year fixed mortgage. Many people look at that as a big, massive debt looming over them for 30 years, and they want to pay it off. Mm-hmm. I can kind of understand on your primary residence, but when it comes to an investment property, no. Never, ever, ever use your money or the cash flow coming in from that property to pay off that loan any faster than that 30 years. Because we live in an inflationary environment, correct? You know what the rate of inflation is today?
Well, they claim it's less than 2%, but I think it's higher.
It's definitely higher. I mean, if we look at the food costs, energy costs, and housing, just those things alone, it's compounding much higher.
I think it's at least 4 or 5.
Well, it's actually closer to 8. If you go to shadowstats.com as a shadow statistics, I tell everybody, go to Shadow Stats, pay the $100 a year and get a damn subscription. And then when you go there, go to alternate data. Actually, you go to, I believe it's alternate data, and go down to inflation on that drop down, and you'll see the differences in the charts. They started looking at inflation differently back in the 80s. The Fed started publishing different numbers, tracking different things. If you track the actual cost of food, you're seeing 18% year-over-year increases just in the meat index alone, right? I mean, the cost of living as far as housing is going through the roof. And if you're having children, is your cost of living only going up 3% per kid, or is it more? It compounds significantly. So when you consider that, what's really going on out there, the U.S. dollar is losing at least 7% of its buying power per year nationally. You get into Northern California, it's like 13%. Mm-hmm. So when you start seeing that, we start realizing, wait a minute, the instrument that we're holding that's sitting in our bank account doing nothing, gaining 0.03% in interest, is actually losing 7% of its buying power on the average. What the hell do I need to do? So that's where you start looking at what a person can do with those funds and start growing it. Now, one of the things I found interesting is that 30-year fixed. Some people think I need to pay that thing off. That's compound interest kicking my ass. Well, in reality, if you can get somebody to give you something, let's say $100,000 purchase price on investment property, $80,000 loan for 30 years, you're going to pay about $405 a month principal and interest on that for 30 years. Mm-hmm. When you add up the principal and interest over 30 years, it's about $145,000. A lot of people think that's a lot of money to pay. I want to pay it off fast. Mm-hmm. But when you recalculate the value of every dollar that leaves your hands for 360 payments over 30 years, you're not paying $145,000. You're paying about $61,000 in actual dollar value over 30 years. Right. Even though $145,000 bills left your hands, the cumulative value of that over 30 years is only 61 grand. So leverage high, leverage long, pay off slow, keep your cash flow, invest it somewhere else.
I love it. And it's interesting. We had a mutual friend on the show recently, Mark Delatour, who I know we we've talked about, he actually brought up pretty boldly. He's like, you want to throw all your cash flow towards that. And I had a few clients that say, Chris, I'm surprised you didn't argue with him. I said, well, that's one method. That's one strategy. But is that the one I would choose? Probably not, And so what would you say to that? Like, I mean, you've heard that argument before too. Like why do people keep thinking they should pay that off when in truth, it probably shouldn't be that way?
So a person's got to be able to put their head on their pillow at night and feel comfortable with what they're doing. That's his strategy. That's how he feels comfortable, right? Yeah. I'm not going to push back on him. He and I have been in debates about that a lot. We had a public debate on it. I will stand by where I stand, and he will stand by where he stands. And want something, God bless the man, because he's got to have a different thought process, right? Yeah. So others will feel that he is correct, and they need to run that way. Go do that, because when the chips, when the dust settles, you got to be confident in what you did. If you're questioning what you're doing, then keep questioning it until you find the answer.
Yeah.
And if the answer is a 30-year fix and pay it off slow, then you're going to be happy with your answer. If the answer is a 7-year ARM with a 20-year AM and pay it off fast, then you're going to be happy with your answer. Mm-hmm. But the thing of it is, you got to start moving forward. The thing I don't like about it personally, if I'm paying things off, now I open myself up to liability, because people love to sue when there's value there. The other thing about it is, if I'm paying it off in 7 years, then I have used a ton of money in it, while the value of the dollar is worth more to wipe that out. Why not stretch it out over a long period of time, take that money, or that extra capital I would have put in 7 years, I could put that in probably 3 more properties. That will pay me even more. So I'd much rather do that. The other thing of it is it's a huge hedge against inflation. Because inflation is going to come. It's always coming. You can't stop inflation. And because of that, I'd much rather have predictability. I can be very predictable about what's going to happen. The other thing is, I can use that equity to go somewhere else instead of piling the equity into something that I can't really access. Can't do anything. It's like having all this money in the savings account that they say you can't access it. Why might I have money in the savings account and can't access it? The other reason we don't like doing IRAs and 401ks. You're locking it up. It's not touchable for however many years. And when you do get to touch it, they want to tax the hell out of you for it.
Right.
Why? Find a different path. Infinite banking is definitely the path I always take with that. Infinite banking, long-term leverage, and let it ride out. Kiyosaki it's kind of hard to argue with Kiyosaki. The guy's got some of the greatest following in the world. He talks about good debt and bad debt. I 100% agree with that. He lives off of leverage. His entire world is leverage. The only thing I disagree with him is the word debt. Leverage properly applied is not debt, is massive assets.
Yeah.
So that's my thought process on it.
Well, I mean, if you look in even like the corporate world, right? Corporate accounting, they'll say debt to equity ratio, right? Debt and equity are actually in opposition to each other. Really, debt is just negative equity, to put a really simple term. So if you have equity in the house, you are debt free, because you could sell that house, still get all your money back, pay off the debt, and have cash. That's debt free, but people don't see it as liability free, like you're kind of saying, right? We can have liabilities, we can have leverage, but like you're saying, if we get dirt cheap money, which right now, I mean, I just had a client message me before we're recording this. He's saying, hey, I can buy down some points and get, on my investment property, I can get down below 3%. He's like, that's insane. I was like, do it. Like, that's low cost of money to free up $280 a month. Like, go for it, man.
Yeah, you do. Again, they're the CEO of their real estate investment business. They got to do what makes the most sense to them. So that way they feel confident that their business is getting done.
Yeah.
So that's the way I see it.
Yeah. Another thing you mentioned too, I mean, you talk about sinking all your money into the house, right? Or into the property. You do lose on the inflation side, because now you're using the best value dollars to pay off your house. But secondly, the thing I see as an issue too is, this is what I learned from the last recession. I used to do that same strategy. I used to sink money into my own property, right? I used to sink money into other stuff, trying to become debt free. But the problem was, when the recession hit the fan and my finances hit the fan, I couldn't get that money back out, because I couldn't ask banks to say, hey, can you give me my money back? No. Well, if I try to sell it when everybody else is trying to sell, now I'm trying to sell for a discount. Now I'm talking about short sales. Now I'm losing money instead of making money, because I lost all that money trapped instead of a place that makes no interest. To me, I think from a safety, people say conservative people pay off their house. I think risky people pay off their house, right?
Oh, yeah. I agree. In fact, when you talk about these 15-year loans, 20-year loans, whatever, I can pay a 30-year like a 7 if I want, but I can't pay a 7 like a 30. I can pay a 30 like a 15 if I want, but I can't pay a 15 like a 30. The other thing that a 30-year does is gives you options. You get to decide what you do. If you take a shorter-term loan, you're forced into doing that. You have no choice in the matter. They make you do it or they take it from you.
Yeah.
So why not have options? I'd much rather have the option. And then if you start realizing, wait a minute, I have all this option, I have all this cash flow, maybe I can take that and put it into the property. Well, I buy that other property. Well, let's do this quick equation. Let's say you're not getting a single cent in cash flow. You just got to just paying the payment. Well, if they're paying off that payment for you, that same $80,000 loan over 30 years, and that's all they're doing for you. One, you get to write off the interest on your taxes as if you paid it. Two, they're paying off that $80,000 loan. Over 30 years, that's equivalent to $2,666.66 per year. You divide that into your $20,000 investment, you're actually looking at a growth of 13.33% per year of the original $20,000 every single year for 30 years. You're not going to get that anywhere else. That's before cash flow. That's before rent raises. That's before appreciation.
Right.
You know, just that alone, you're making a stupid amount of money. Well, then you start getting the cash flow and you take that compounding cash flow and you invest it somewhere, infinite banking or something. Now you're getting a compound growth there.
Yeah.
Instead of pouring it into the property that's still only worth $100,000 that may grow 3%, possibly depending upon your market, that may also decline rapidly if the market shifts. You got to think about those things. Taking that money and burying it into property is not going to help you.
I agree. Yeah, often a strategy I'll talk about is using the infinite banking as like your savings account that then goes and buys more property anyways. So you're flowing the money through and just keep what I call acceleration of money versus accumulation. Like the traditional saver mindset is accumulation of money, pay off debt, save, and try to compound money. The acceleration is how do we get some of that compounding interest and get that cash flow too? So we're getting the best of both worlds.
Agreed. 100% agree.
Awesome. Now, I'm sure our listeners agree because I know you just threw out the numbers I was going to ask you to share, and you just started to throw out some of those, right? You know, it's to us, it's pretty obvious that, you know, definitely leveraging a mortgage, especially with the low interest, you know, and everything else that we have. And like you said, 30-year versus 15-year, have the option to do less, you know, a less payment versus more because that's profit's king, right? You've got to have profit.
Yes, sir.
So maybe we should do something where we actually show the numbers. What do you think?
Sure.
Those people are more visual because they're just hearing these numbers fly at them. We're like, holy crap, like this is a lot.
It's one thing to write them down, it's a whole other thing to share them. So what we should probably do is plan on getting back on the line again when I'm not in the Jeep, right? And I can screen share my calculations. The other thing is I've got an app that I'm building with the professor of accounting at Kennesaw State University with all these numbers, because this is where all these numbers came from. It came from the university. I had an opportunity to go speak at the university back in November of last year, almost a year ago. And we sat down and he created a tool for me to be able to use to prove all this accurate. And so with that, I've got app builders right now working on, they're done with the actual app itself. Now we're going through the calculations to make sure they're accurate. And we should have that by the end of this next week. But I think we get back on the line, we do a longer call, and I share the actual numbers.
I bet you my people agree. And they're like, okay, we can't listen to this. We got to watch this now if they're not watching already. So
exactly.
Love it,
so
man.
Listening's one thing, writing it down, we'll go into even greater depth of where the real value of real estate is. It's not just cash flow. It's not appreciation. It's definitely not paying down the damn loan. You know, there's real value in many other places, and inflation is the main reason that real estate investors capitalize.
That's right. That's absolutely right, man. Well, hey, so I know this, like you have an awesome mortgage team that you have working with you and stuff. If people want to look at mortgage options, which I know you do a great job servicing your clients, what's the best way they can reach out to your team to do that?
Just go to AaronBChapman.com. 2 A's, 1 R. So AARON, B as in Bravo, CHAP as in Paul, MAN.com. That's where they'll find us. You can also just do a Google search for Aaron Chapman. It's kind of cool. It used to be 2 years ago, actually about a year and a half ago, you Google search Aaron Chapman, you'll find about 4 pages in. Now I take the first 2 pages. You know, I've got my STOC media company now. We're doing our Quit Jerking Off initiative. You can actually type in QJO initiative on Google. You'd be amazed. I mean, I clicked it and typed it in yesterday just to see QJO initiative as in Quit Jerking Off. And first 3 pages was all us, which was awesome. So a lot of cool stuff is in the works right now.
That's awesome. I love it, man. All right. Well, hey, I'll put that in the show notes here, aaronbchapman.com, so people can check that out. But Aaron, appreciate your time, and I'm looking forward to part 2. I'm looking forward to sharing that with people.
Right on, brother. Let's get it knocked out.
All right, everybody. So stay tuned because, man, like you thought part 1 was awesome. Wait till you see part 2. So, guys, I hope you're making a wonderful and prosperous week. We'll see you later.